so I apologise if my voice sounds a bit croaky and a bit muffled today. I'm full of cold at the moment. But anyway, this episode is a great sort of development of Soos' character. First of all, he's actually a lot younger than I realised. You know, I had him in being like his sort of mid-30s, you know, maybe even 40s kind of age. But no, if he's young enough to have had a birthday party, you know, only 10 years ago, then he obviously is only early 20s. You know, actually, if he's that kind of physical build, when he's only in early 20s, he's going to really struggle with his health later in life. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. Acknowledges, I think, maybe a problem a lot of people had with the Time Traveller's Pig, and that's, well, the ending of Time Traveller's Pig anyway. The fact that Dipper and Mabel basically kind of land Blendin in it, you know, it is kind of all their fault, the reason why he gets arrested and thrown in jail. And, you know, they kind of acknowledge that, you know, it wasn't right for them to do that, and they feel no remorse for that. So, you know, I kind of wish I'd waited until after this episode aired to review Time Traveller's Pig, because, you know, I agree that is kind of a problem with that episode. You know, it doesn't really take away from the episode itself, it's just maybe kind of a problem in sort of the long run in terms of, you know, Dipper and Mabel's character. So it's good that they bring it back and they address it here, and obviously it's an excuse to bring back Blendin, a really entertaining comic relief character. I'm not so keen on his voice, but, you know, the different kind of lines he comes up with, it's really kind of cool. One thing I didn't actually like about that sort of introduction scene, you know, the pre-title scene is, well, actually I just thought it was kind of unnecessary, really. I mean, it was kind of cool just to see Blendin again, but I think it actually might have been more effective if that scene where they turn up later in that sort of big white room, Dipper and Mabel just like, oh, what's going on, sort of thing. If that had been a surprise to us as the audience as well, you know, we had no idea that Blendin was going to show up. I mean, the episode is called Blendin's Game, so that would have been kind of a giveaway. But outside of that, you know, just having them that be their first appearance in the episodes, that would have been a bit more surprising, and I think a bit more effective if, you know, that had been their first appearance. So that probably would have been better off starting at the Mystery Shack with Soos. But it's kind of cool that they decide to bring back just a quick sort of comic relief character and in a sense reuse, you know, maybe a standard kind of plot from kids shows, and that's going back in time and seeing the origins of things. But they also use it to sort of develop Soos' character a lot more as well. And it's kind of a way of giving a character a bit of a backstory where, you know, it's not just a case of, you know, a flashback or a character saying, well, it all started 10 years ago and, you know, we're not present in or anything. But in this case, they actually have Dipper and Mabel find it out for themselves because they have to time travel. When I first saw that they had gone back 10 years, I was kind of sort of into my... By the way, I like the little bit of sort of subtle setting up that they had with the laser tag store. They mentioned that it used to be a mattress store, and then of course we see they're in a mattress store after they've time travelled. It's like, oh, well, they're obviously quite a bit in the past. That's kind of a cool little bit of setup there that you just wouldn't guess was them actually setting something up. Again, it's great the way that the show can do that kind of thing. But yeah, I was kind of in two minds when I saw that they had time travelled. You know, part of me is kind of excited to see, oh, it's going to be all the gags about what everything was like in the past, or, you know, those little sort of foreshadowing kind of gags of, oh, well, of course we know where they end up, you know, and everything. At the same time, I was hoping that the episode wasn't going to just resort to that kind of level of things, of it just being, you know, like nothing but gags the whole time. But no, I thought they got a decent kind of balance of everything. You know, you see the tattoo guy, you see the goat a lot younger. You see Soos looking at the t-shirt that obviously he wears in the present day. And obviously the main one, of course, is the young Wendy telling Dipper that she thinks he's cute. Again, kind of acknowledging that, you know, that's kind of still going on. Dipper, you know, does still have a crush on her, but, you know, I think maybe at the same time he's trying his best to get over her. You know, let's not talk about that. That's not what this episode is about. Maybe kind of a cliche kind of backstory to Soos here, that, you know, he has an estranged parent. And also it's his grandmother that takes care of him, so what happened to his mother? I don't know if that's ever mentioned, maybe I've just missed that or something. But yeah, that has to be kind of frustrating. You know, I'm happy to say that it's not something I have ever had to experience. I've never had like a parent that doesn't care about me or anything like that. But yeah, that has to be kind of a sort of frustrating thing, that you have just a loved one that doesn't care about you. But I've always thought the kind of weird kind of dilemma with that is, why do you care about them if they don't care about you? And it's really just one of those kinds of sort of human nature kinds of things. You know, you're directly related to them. They're a parent, they're a kid, they're, you know, whatever. So you're kind of sort of naturally required almost by human nature to care about them. But if they don't care about you, why should that even matter? Just because they're biologically related to you doesn't mean, you have to be friends with them, or you have to care about them, you have to sort of even know who they are. If it was a complete stranger on the street that was treating you like this, you just forget about them and move on. In a sense, maybe you should just sort of ignore the fact that they are technically biologically related to you. The kind of way of, if they were a complete stranger, would you care about the way that they're treating you at all? No, you probably wouldn't. I was kind of sort of wondering what kind of route that we're going to take this down. Just having Soos see his dad at the end, it's kind of like, well, doesn't that kind of sort of send a kind of bad message to kids? Because there probably are kids out there that have this kind of problem in real life. And obviously they can't make a time wish. They can't wish to see a parent at any kind of time that they want, just by, it happening by sort of magic or something. So is this going to sort of maybe send a bit of a bad message, perhaps? And no, in fact, what the show does is they take it down a different kind of route of, like, don't care about them. They don't care about you, so why should you care about them just because you are technically biologically related to them? Family obviously is important, but only if they are willing to make the effort to care about you. It's a two-way kind of relationship kind of thing, like with any kind of friendship or romance or anything. Family is the same kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's a good direction that they've taken it in. It's quite kind of interesting to look at sort of visually, because obviously that whole sort of gladiator duel thing they do in the future, that's kind of cool to look at. A lot of it was done in still images, which was kind of disappointing. The laser tag arena, which we've not seen before, that was kind of cool. Seeing everything in the past and everything, the kind of stuff you can look at in the background. It's a good episode to rewatch, actually, for that reason. It's all kind of interesting kind of visually. A lot of it did feel a lot like filler, though. Just little gags here and there, and just, filling up the time with watching Mabel and Dipper fight Blendin. Soos wandering around, wondering where they've got to. In terms of the sort of core, in-depth, emotional kind of plot, there's not a huge amount there. It's just a simple case of Soos hates his birthday. Soos misses his dad, and then a quick resolution at the end with him making the time wish. Yeah, there wasn't a particularly sort of gripping kind of plot to this. This was more just sort of about the little gags and little sort of experience of the visuals and everything. So it wasn't quite as solid an episode in that sense, really. It was just sort of kind of a little bit of just sort of interesting character development of Soos, and also I think a good resolution at the end with Soos, deciding, just because he's my dad doesn't mean I should care about him if he doesn't care about me. I think that's a good lesson. I thought Soos actually could have done something a bit nicer for Dipper and Mabel in thanks for what they did than just simply cleaning them up like that. I thought he could have, like, maybe given them something. Like, maybe he gave them candy at the start of the episode. Maybe he could have given them, like, even more candy or something. I do like the gag with Mabel putting the candy in her mouth without taking the wrappers off, and then pretty much instantly saying, "Oh, this was a bad idea." Because I can imagine that that probably is something that happened to Alex Hirsch when he was a kid or something, and or perhaps his sister, since Mabel is based on his sister. She probably did actually do that. I can just imagine something like that happening and working it into a show. It's just sort of natural, instant comedy. Infinite pizza. That would be a very easy way for Soos to gain a lot more weight than he already has. I seriously worry about Soos's health now that he has infinite pizza, actually. That's kind of worrying. But yeah, still pretty cool to, just the idea of pizza that will never run out. But yeah, it just sort of felt like mostly an episode about jokes and kind of cool visuals. So, it's a great episode to watch. It resolves maybe a little bit of a problem with the previous episode, so that's kind of nice. Brings back a real fan favourite in Blendin. Yeah, just something felt a little bit lacking about the story. It felt a bit too sort of straightforward, a bit too sort of basic. I felt it could have had maybe a little bit more to it. I kind of hope now that maybe they bring back Blendin for a third time, maybe just to sort of show how he's getting on with, getting his job back and everything. I thought, the end credits scene was kind of just sort of a case of stating the obvious, really. We knew that was where Soos was going to end up eventually. We didn't really feel like we needed to actually see it. I don't know, just sort of generally I'm not really sort of keen on these kind of jokes of, haha, we know where that's going to go, or how things are going to turn out between them, or, showing things in the past and then making fun of the fact of we know where things are going to end up, sort of thing. I'm not so keen on those gags, really, because the whole gag basically is just, we know what happened thing. It makes us, the audience, sort of feel kind of special or something, I don't know. But it it's a very sort of easy kind of joke to just do over and over when it comes to time travel stories. Yeah, it was used sort of fairly sparingly in this episode. You know, there wasn't too overboard with those kinds of gags. I did like the one where Wendy tells Dipper that she thinks he's cute. That's a good little bit of sort of development of that arc, which I do like to think is still going on. But yeah, there was a few sort of good gags, a good little bit of visuals. But yeah, I felt there could have been a bit more to it though. But yeah, it was all right. Not a personal favourite of mine, but still a decent enough episode. Okay, so that's that, guys, and I'll see you next vlog.